Hi guys! So this video is a little bit different than most of the other ones I've done so far. I don't really know how to explain it. It might not be your thing, that's okay. So if you are not interested in slightly paranormal slash Teresa Caputo kind of stuff, then feel free to click off this and check out my next video. But if you are interested in that kind of stuff, a friend of mine and I were talking when she came to do a reading for me. When I told her that I had started my YouTube channel, she was super excited about that and was really interested in trying to come up with some kind of video that we could do together for Halloween. I had just recently had a reading with her at my house. She hadn't been doing readings for a while. She took a health break and she just recently got back into it again. So this is the first time that she had been able to come to our house since we purchased it last year. I wanted her to walk around and see what she felt here. I didn't get that on camera because that was a couple of months ago before we ever came up with this idea. The beginning of the video is just me interviewing her a little bit. We did a live stream on her channel and I took a video at the same time so I could clip in some of the questions and answers that we talked about if anybody is curious about how it works. If not, feel free to skip past that part. But we also talk a little bit about what she felt in our house. And so I guess our house is the first Marshall historic building that's on this tour that I took her on. So I haven't started editing the video yet. I wanted to wait until today because I have an appointment with a Marshall historian, and she had already sent me some information through email that she had found, but I just wanted to make sure I met up with her in person just in case there was anything else that she didn't go over or send to me. She sent me copies, PDF copies of so many things. I'm gonna try to screenshot some of my messages if I can and put them into the video, and hopefully there's not too much profanity in it, because when she had sent me some of the stuff and I was reading it in my email, I was shocked at some of the information. How we structured this was that Jessica didn't know about anything that we were doing in advance. We had talked about this being one of the ideas that we had done, or that we were going to do, but I didn't tell her for sure what we were doing, other than that I was going to interview her at the beginning and talk about what happened at my house. I knew some vague history on some of these places before I took her to them, which is how I knew which places to take her to, but really honestly, Marshall is so old and all of the downtown is so old that I could have picked any place and I'm sure it would have been. But I didn't go searching for any of the history of these places before I took her out because I didn't want to lead her into anything. I didn't want to accidentally say anything that might push her one way or the other. I think I make a couple of comments about things that she was talking about that I vaguely knew might be the case as she was talking about them, but for the most part I didn't know any of the major history of any of these places, and I didn't find that out until I got the emails back from the historian. So all responses back and forth between Jessica and I in the screenshots are 100% valid and in the moment what I was feeling, if you see any of those in here. So anyway, so I took her to the National House Inn, the Crary Condominiums, the Museum of Magic, the Marshall Framing Studio, which has a connection to my house that I was wondering if she might pick up on and didn't really, but you'll see more about that later. One of the couples that previously owned my home also ran an antique store out of that building. And while we were there, we were next door to the Bogar Theater, which she also picked up on, but we didn't really go into or talk about specifically. But turns out there were things that she picked up on for that place while we were at the framing studio, so that was interesting. From there, we went to the Cronin House, which I know the owners. My parents are good friends of theirs, and they actually let us in the house, and Jessica and I took a tour of the house together, and she talked me through what she was feeling the whole entire way through the house, so that one is very interesting. This might be a long video, I'm sorry about that, but we had so much fun doing this, and I would totally love to do something like this again. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, and we will 100% do this again, whether it's next October, so it's more Halloween themed like this one is, or if we just decide to do it on a whim the next time that we get together. I don't know, but if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment, like the video, because we would 100% be open to doing this another time. There are so many more buildings that I could take her to downtown, and it could be really interesting going to some of those. So anyway, I am getting ready to head down to my meeting with the historian.
So I'm here with Brittany, and we met in 2015?
I think.
2015. She's had many readings with me, and she's going to be asking me some questions. So
I live in an 1880 Queen Anne Victorian home. I had Jessica come for the first time. We just bought this house last year, and I had her come about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
To see it in person, and because I wanted to know some things about the house. Because we've had a couple of experiences here already, and we've lived here for only a year, so it's a little unnerving.
Yeah, your husband, what your husband described, the dream that he had, it was like the same person that I saw when I was like, I'm seeing a woman like on the staircase with like long white hair, and yeah, that was, and then I remember his face, he was like, okay, that makes sense because my dream.
So we have both seen, I hesitate to talk about this in a public forum
Yeah.
because people are going to think I'm nuts, but we both have seen a shadow upstairs in our house. So do you want to talk about like what you felt while you were here?
Yeah, so right when I got here, I asked, like, we kind of mutually said it to each other, like, do you want to look around first? And I said, yeah, let me see what I feel. I want to see like what I pick up on. I was led, I think I went straight upstairs, didn't I? No, I walked around the bottom a little bit.
Well, I gave you a tour.
Yeah,
down here first, and then I took you upstairs, but you didn't pick up on anything until we went up there.
Yeah, it was when after we got like on the stairs, I felt something like not to like scratch it or like it's a banister, right? Is that what it's called? Like the staircase, the sides.
Yeah, I don't know if it's original, but it's very
old.
Yeah.
I kept hearing in my head like a woman saying, please don't touch it. She didn't even want me to like touch it. I don't even think I told you this, that I was hearing that like,
oh no,
like don't, I think I told you like people don't like people on the stairs. I think that's what I said.
Be careful on the stairs.
Yeah, be careful on the stairs. That's what it was. So I went and walked up her stairs, in like the first bedroom on the right hand side, I was feeling like kind of heaviness in. But then as we kept going, it was mainly in their bedroom where I was feeling it.
My son's room.
Your son's room? And then once we went into your bedroom, I was like, okay, I could see like an experience had happened there. Like, I don't know, I kept seeing something out of the corner of my eye, but it was like an image of you seeing something or something behind you, and it was kind of weirded me out a little bit because I was like, what? What happened in here? And then you told me.
What actually happened was that I was sitting there, but I was not facing towards the mirror. I was facing the other direction, down our upstairs hallway. I saw what I thought was my husband walk out of the bathroom at the end of the hall and into my son's room. And it was not my husband. He was downstairs in the basement. So, and my son was at his dad's.
I will never get used to seeing spirit. I think I've said that the last like 12, 13 years that I've been doing like readings publicly and made a page, but I will never get used to it. It's not as scary to me. Like when I see them, I don't get that same feeling I used to. Like when I was a kid and I'd see things, I'd kind of feel like off. I could tell they weren't real after I got to a certain age, but before like my teen years, I was like thinking that it was just people that everybody was seeing. You know what I mean?
I wasn't necessarily scared of it, I guess. It was more so just that
weirded you
was
out.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, uncomfortable.
Like it was like an invasion almost, it felt like. Like I wasn't necessarily scared of it, but like it just felt.
And I felt a man and a woman, and I remember describing them to you guys, you and your husband, and then your husband said that that dream that he had of the woman was kind of creepy. But most of all, I felt peace, but the two spirits that I felt, the woman and the man, like from a long time ago, long time ago, like original owners, that they just love this house is what it is. You know, they just are watching over the house. They're not really going to mess with you or anything.
So, and the stuff that we had happened, my husband saw something, and then a few days later I saw something, and then that was a week ago, or like a week span, I think, a couple of months ago. It was earlier this summer, so it wasn't that long ago. And we've lived here for a year and 2 months, and that's the only time either of us has seen anything. And it just happened to be that same week.
Yeah.
And what was funny is my husband saw it, and then I made fun of him for seeing something because I didn't really believe him because he was kind of half asleep. And then I saw something a few days later, so maybe that was just
that'll happen. But it's like, oh, really? You don't believe in me? Well, here I am. That happens to a lot of people where they kind of are like, or they are too worried that they're gonna see something, and then it happens because of that. So.
Yeah.
So she has talked about like her experiences having readings with me and stuff, but is there anything like specific that you want to tell them? Like,
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot. I'm the one that she told was gonna have twins, so I don't know how I feel about that yet.
I want you to pick one thing that like blew you away, that Spirit, when I was on the phone with Spirit, like I like to say, I'm on the telephone with Spirit. What was one thing specific? Can you think of anything that kind of like blew you away and you were like, because you were pretty skeptical, weren't you? The first reading you had with me?
Yeah, so like I always kind of believed in it, but never from the outside, I guess, like in my safe place of like believing that was possible, but like I hadn't ever had anything to where it was necessarily that I was like, oh, this is 100% sure for real. So like the first reading when I booked you, I was hoping that something would happen, but I was not
thinking it was going to be that detailed. And
yeah, I guess probably thinking it was going to be more surface level kind of stuff and not necessarily that we were going to go into quite as much as we did. And I've lost quite a few people since that first reading. I had only, at that time, had lost my grandma that I was really close to, and she passed away when I was 15. Not necessarily the thing that like shocked me the most, but like the thing that helped me the most was something that happened before she passed away. I mean, she was basically my second mom. We lived with them for a little while when I was a kid while we were building our house, and we lived only 2 miles from them most of my childhood, so I was with her all the time. When she got sick, I didn't like to be around her because I didn't like to see her that way. So when she got really, really bad, right before she passed away within the last couple of months, we were going over there every few days or so to just because it was that bad and we never knew when something was going to happen. And the last time that we went over there, I was like, I don't want to go in and see her this time because I don't want to go in there and see her like that. I'll go in and see her next time. And then that was the last time. A few days later, my parents went there without us and came back and told us that she had passed away while they were there. Then I carried that around with me 8 years. Like, I always felt bad about that. But, like, why couldn't I go in there? Like, I was so close to her. Like, why didn't I just make myself go in there? But I was 15. I mean, you think about 15 and it's like you're old enough to know, but, like, I was still a freshman in high school, I think, or something. So I was still not that old. One of the things that you said was specifically about that and about how she is not upset with me for not going in there. Like, she didn't want me to see her like that anyway. So, like, it's okay, like, that I didn't... I mean, that was probably the thing that made the most difference. It wasn't necessarily the thing that shocked me the most,
but
or,
it
like,
brought
was the most profound, but yeah.
It brought you peace and healing.
Beyond that, it probably would be the one... I had already had a session scheduled, and then my dad's best friend died, and, I was contemplating whether I should cancel it or not, and I decided to keep it. I was not expecting anything to be brought up about him specifically because I was like, well, it's only been 3 weeks. Like, there's no way that that's going to be something that gets talked about at all or anything, because in my mind I'm thinking, probably still has no idea what's going on. That was most of that reading, I think, was him coming through and talking, but not necessarily to me. There were a lot of things in that reading that were there to like validate things for my dad, who's a massive skeptic and like doesn't believe in it. I mean, I don't know, on some level I think he probably does a little bit, but like
inside.
There was one thing specifically that you said didn't make any sense to us at all during the reading. Like, it wasn't even necessarily something that you said that struck either of us as something that would be important, but it was just one word that you said that you used to describe my mom, and when I told my dad later, he started crying and like left the restaurant we were in because apparently he had said something specifically like that about my mom at one point when they were joking about her or something. He said she was a quack, is what he said. So like nothing that either of us would probably use in regular conversation. And then when I said that specifically, triggered something, and And then there was just a lot in there that I was meant to share with the person that he left behind, and so I had dinner with her after that and chatted about it all. So
I love hearing stories about, because I do hear stories after the fact, like pieces of the puzzle that get put together once people go home and talk to loved ones, because maybe they don't know much of the history before, they were young when their grandparents passed away or whatever the case, and it makes sense to the person that it was directed towards. Like, your dad wasn't with you that day, but it was still, he wanted to get that message to him. And I think it's all healing to me. I just want to bring people healing. So I know it made him cry, but it also probably made him like understand more, like, okay, maybe she actually is, a little bit, because it was something private between them.
Well, and the way that everything happened was very traumatic and unexpected, so even though I wasn't expecting him to talk about anything or come through or anything like that, like he was doing that because there were people that needed to know that there were circumstances that nobody could have known, and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it because there's nothing that you could have done, basically. So how did you learn that you had your gift?
Well, I know I've told a story before about seeing my grandpa at his funeral when they were lowering my grandpa's casket down. And I remember everybody had like carnations in their hand. And like every time I smell carnations, I think of my grandpa that passed away. He had cancer. I was 7 years old and it ended up going to his brain. And I remember people were like throwing the flowers and some of them were holding on to them still. And I saw him standing right next to my grandma. And I remember like trying to talk to my mom, but obviously everyone's crying. Everyone's, I think it was like a really crappy day out too, if I remember right. I saw him and that was like the first that I can remember, maybe there's more earlier on and maybe when I was younger, but that's like the earliest memory I can think of. And then after that, after my grandpa passed away, I do have other memories of spirit because I would walk to the cemetery in like Odessa and I would go to the cemetery and I'd talk to people that were like and at that point I was probably like 10, 11, maybe a little bit older. I'm pretty sure I was like 10, 11 when I would ride my bike and I'd be by myself. I didn't have a lot of friends. So that's like the earliest I can remember, but I've always known that I can feel other people's emotions, that I carry a lot with me. I guess after my mom passed away was when it just like blew up for me. I remember my mom passing away and I had my son 2 days later, like she was dying in one hospital, I was giving birth in the other. And when she passed away, I was seeing spirit non-stop. I mean, from the moment she passed away, like even the drive home from the hospital after she passed away, there was like a dead animal on the side of the road. It was a deer. And I saw the spirit of the deer standing over it. And my husband at the time, the boys' dad, he almost crashed because I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna hit that. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that deer. And it got to the point where it was so bad that it was like 2 weeks after he made an appointment with a therapist or a psychiatrist. And within 15 minutes, she had decided that I was schizophrenic. Yeah, I'd say after that, I think it's because my mom is my main guide. And so when she passed, it was just like another floodgate open for me. I just got way more tuned in, is what I usually say. I got more tuned into spirit, and but it was very overwhelming. Very overwhelming. I would say I just started doing it. I don't know. I was born with the gift, but I just decided that I didn't care what other people thought anymore. You get what I mean? Because before I would care what people would think that I was seeing spirit. I'd say it went like this. When I was younger, I'd see them all the time. And then there was a section like in my teens from maybe like 13 to right after my mom passed away, where I would see them almost every day, but it wasn't to the extent that it is still to this day since my mom died. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it became just like, okay, this is my purpose. And I remember just like praying, like, God, if this is wrong, if this is like a mental illness, if this is not right, if this is not a true gift from you, take it away from me. Take it from me. You can do all things. Take it from me. I have full faith that if this is not truly from you, then take it away. And I believed it 100%. And it just got stronger. And I was like, okay, then I guess this is my mission, is to help people.
How do you hone in chaos?
My whole life has been traumatic and chaotic. So to me, when I'm channeling, it's not. It almost makes me want to cry, but it's a level of peace I feel when I'm channeling spirit for a client or anybody, even strangers I do it for. I think when I open that door, I usually say, like, I can shut it down now. I've taught myself how to shut it down a little bit in the past couple of years when I had that long break. Learn how to close down and not let things attach to me so much, like feelings, emotions. I carried a lot of pain inside mentally, and then I think that's why it happened so bad physically. You know, it manifested itself. So now I just try to like stay in the light as much as I can. I don't let myself get to that frequency, is what I usually say, like that frequency of even anger, because if I get there, I'm stuck there. And until I can do like use a tool, kind of like in therapy, like trauma therapy, where you're like, well, use your tools to calm yourself, you know, to get yourself out of a panic attack. It's kind of the same thing that I do now, and I did do a lot of therapy. As soon as I'm like, say we're sitting here and I just got here and I'm doing a reading for you, I will pretty much be kind of, my door's closed to the other side. I haven't picked up the telephone yet to heaven. And then as soon as I sit down and as soon as I put this notepad in my lap, I envision like light, just like a cone coming out of my head, I guess you could say. Sounds really weird. I've never really explained. So I just envision it kind of like this, but then I also ask for protection and put like a bubble around me of light, just so that nothing negative can come through.
That was my other question, was how do you keep yourself from those, anything that's negative?
God. That's like one word answer for that, but I just ask God to protect me, and I ask for angels to surround me and not let anything negative come to me. I say the Lord's Prayer in my head before every session. So basically I do that. I just kind of protect myself and ask God to protect me so that nothing negative can come in. I don't want to feel so much as I used to. So that's one thing that I've been working on, is not opening up fully the empathic part of me, but just the cone. So that's why I started envisioning that.
Exhausting.
Yeah, because it was making me physically sick. I'd be doing readings and then go home and get sick. Like physically sick, because I was like carrying their grief. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was carrying I'm too open to energy, so I was like a sponge to their grief, and then I'd go home and cry for 2 hours. They'd be like, you know, feeling bliss and peaceful that they got to talk, and I'd be like, you know, and I'd be drained. So yeah, I would, now I'm like, since I've been back, I've been fine.
In your regular life, when you're not having a reading, like how does spirit show up for you? Like, because you said you see them every day. So how?
For an example, like if I'm at Walmart, I'll feel like this, like a sensation of someone rubbing my arm or like tugging on my shirt. And I'm like, can I just go grocery shopping, please? I'll hear them audibly. Can you help me? It's usually help. Can you help me? Or I'll hear the word help. And then I'll be like,
I just got goosebumps.
It usually is audibly, actually, when I'm out. And then it almost sounds like they're far away, like if you were in your kitchen and was yelling help to me. So I know it's spirit right away, because I instantly hear in my head, it's spirit. Those are my guides telling me.
So it's not necessarily that like you just walk into places and you just see people standing.
For like Walmart, I'll see, I sometimes see like images around people, like their energy around them, I guess you could say, their aura, and then I will see, it's hard to describe what I see and how I see it, but I can tell that there's other energy around them. But when I'm in like old places, or like say we went to the theater, or we went to one of the shops down here, the chances of me walking in and seeing an entity or seeing a spirit is probably like 85%. I would say it's that high, especially older buildings and stuff. But if I want to see, I will ask to see more, and then it's just like free for all after that. Once I open that door, it's hard to process sometimes. Every day I see spirit.
But it's not like necessarily here, you just sitting in my house, you're seeing every single person that's currently here with us. Like,
I asked to not see them constantly, like how it was after my mom died. It was constant. It was like the doorway was wide open and I didn't know.
Is there anything you won't tell someone during a reading?
Yeah. The answer is yeah, because I would say I tell them 99.9% of everything that I'm shown, but I have had where I will see something and I'm describing to them how someone passed away so that it validates to them who that person is, but I will not go into the detail of what I'm seeing because it can be like a horror, you know what I mean? It can be like a horror flick or like a really graphic. I'm shown really graphic things with people that have died traumatically or, you know, in car accidents, things of that nature. So I will tell them that I'm seeing something graphic, but I won't go into like the detail of it, the how I'm being shown. Cause I'm very detailed when I'm channeling. I'm very detailed with visual, everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing. I take a lot of notes, I give it to people, but the graphicness that I see.
So how did you come up with like the mental system of images in your head? Like how they mean, like they show you one thing but they mean something else?
How that works is I'll hear it like in my head, I'll hear it audibly what it means, like the symbol means. So then the next time the word is always associated with it, if that makes sense. Like a flashcard would be, like for cat, you turn it over, it says cat. It kind of works that way. Here's an example. Whenever I see my brother in my head, and it's me and you don't know my brother, I know that we are talking about someone whose name was Terry. Because that's his name. So that's how spirit will show me names sometimes, is I'll see people in my own life that I know that the person I'm sitting with doesn't know them, but they're trying to tell me their name. Or they'll say it out loud while, it's usually out loud while showing me the person in my head to verify that person's name. So my mom is a lot in my head helping me, and I remember hearing my mom's voice in my head, not audibly, then I would say it to you, you know. So yeah, that's how it works. A lot of visual though, and then obviously I know the association with it. Like if I see a horse in my head right now, you know that's a horse. Like anybody even in the live can see. I say dog, cat, you know, you're seeing it in your head, and it's associated. So it's like, I guess just mental
word association.
Word association is the right word, yeah. Sometimes it's hard, like if they're trying to show me something visual and I'm like, I have no idea what they're showing me. Like they're taking apart a car and showing me parts, I don't know. But I think just over doing so many sessions and channeling so much, I guess it has just come easy to me to understand what they're saying. Even if throughout a whole reading they barely say hardly any words, I can put it all together and it totally is what the person needs to know and hear. And some people don't channel that way. Some people I don't feel as much as I get. And I'm not being conceited in that. I just know other people that they don't have any visuals. They only hear audible so it's like I get the visual and the audible in my head. And also like if I hold on to, say my phone is a item, we'll just pick it, it's a lamp, and I'm holding the lamp, because people will bring objects with them, and if I'm holding on to it, I will start seeing images associated with it. I'll even see like the house that it might have been in, or probably wasn't, and what it means to them, what it meant to them even when they were in the physical world. And I've had people give me things in bags, so I'm just holding on to the bottom of the gift bag, and I will tell them exactly what's in the gift bag. So it's just spirit showing me like an image of what they put in it before they came, and people get weirded out by that, but I think it's awesome. I think it's fun. It's cool.
Okay, so, and this one was prompted specifically because of my reading last time. So I was you were shown, and you told me like 5 years ago that I was going to have a baby, and it was going to be a girl. And then since then, I've gotten divorced, have not had any more kids, and with somebody new. And like at the time, like I had no idea any of that kind of stuff was going to happen anytime soon. And then like recently with you telling me that we were going to have twins, which I am still...
Does it run in his family? I can't remember. Does it run?
No, it doesn't run in either of ours. Yeah, so I'm still a little reeling from that because I like can't process as a thing that's going to happen. Just like thinking about all of that stuff though, do the things that you read ever change? Like can either spirit be wrong, or can like you read something for somebody and then later on they take a different path somehow and they stray from what you thought was going to happen because, say, you had read somebody like me that had been with somebody before and said something specific that didn't happen with them, but then they got divorced or weren't together anymore or decided they weren't going to have any more kids or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, is it ever, can it change, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, most of the time I'd say, like, I give a lot of percentages, but most of it, like 95% of the time it doesn't change from what I'm being shown. What Spirit's showing me and what I'm telling the person. But I can give an example of it not. Her name's Dina. I gave her a reading yesterday, and I can't remember how long before her dad passed. She had asked me what I felt, how long he'd be here, because they'd lived way far away from each other, and she was worried that, you know, something might happen and she not get to him. And I had like the strong feeling, and I was shown it when I was sitting next to her, that he was going to be here at least another year. Well, he ended up passing away like 3 months later. But during the reading I had with her, he told me and was showing me how much pain he was in, and that he was actually praying out loud and silently, God, take me. I can't do this anymore. He was in his 70s. Like, I can't do this anymore. This is too painful. He was very sick. So, like, that was his will. He was willing. He was asking for God's grace, like, please take me. Like, I can't do this anymore. So God did. God did take it. But Dina did make it down to see him in Alabama. She did make it there before he passed away. But he hung on just enough for her and her sisters to get there and then passed on. So his own soul decided, I've suffered enough. Lord, please take me. And then God listened. So we have free will, of course. So things can change, but I'd say there's lots of people that have examples of things I've told them, and it's happened just like they saw. So, or just like I saw and told them. So babies, weddings,
yeah,
you know, things like that. Job changes, what that job might be. Places, people will be like, I'm not going on vacation, but I'm seeing a vacation, and I say, well, I tell them what state it is, and then all of a sudden they say, well, you know, something happened and we had to go there and it wasn't planned, but Spirit knew ahead of time.
It's like a confusing concept to grasp, which is why I was curious about it, because, I mean, it's things that haven't happened yet, so it's like how much of that is like set in stone, 100% going to happen regardless of what happens.
Well, me telling someone might change that, because what if I tell them something that they don't want? But Spirit's seeing it happen for them, so by telling them, it prevents something from happening. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, Spirit will say, like, a warning. I'll see warnings for people not to do certain things, like, you need to get out of a job right now. Like, you have to. You know, I've seen that for people, and they ended up not leaving, and they got fired. You know, stuff like that, like, out of nowhere. And for Spirit to say, hurry up and get out, so, like, you have financial stability because this is about to happen. Health-wise, too. I mean, I've seen things for people health-wise. Those are hard to tell someone, like, I'm seeing a tumor in your body. I've had to tell people that. And then they go get scanned, and then they find out, you know, one woman had breast cancer. I saw a lump in her left breast, and I said it was this big, and that's how big it was. And thank God she came to me, because I think the whole reading wasn't even about her family coming through. It was about that tumor in her body, so that she could get it removed and not have to even go through all that. Because you think about, like, what if it would have spread. So it's all divinely ordered. Even people coming to have a session with me, I feel like it's already been planned ahead of time. It's hard for us to grasp our mind around that, because we live in the time. We live on the earth, and they don't live in a time realm. Their time there's no time. There's no concept of it. So does that explain it more better?
Just
you just don't want to have twins, don't you?
No, that's not it.
It makes me nervous, I know.
So in my research with the library historian, we ended up finding out that our house is not as old as we thought. The plaque on the outside of our house says 1880, and those are put up by the Historical Society here in town when your house is on home tour. I just always assumed that was the correct date. Our house is also featured in the second edition of an architectural book here in town, and that claims that it's circa 1885. But when the librarian and the Historical Society archivist, who is the same person, went through old Sanborn fire insurance maps, it shows the house actually didn't exist on the 1888 map, but it is there by the time the next map she had access to was made in 1893. So the house was actually built sometime between 88 and 93. We're not entirely sure because there's missing gaps in between the fire insurance maps and the city directory. In the approximately 140 years that our house has existed, it's had about 10 different owners. The 1894 city directory shows that the home was owned by Isaac H. and Mary Whitmore, and we're actually very lucky that there's a portrait and a biographical account of him. It's in an 1891 copy of a book titled The Portrait and Biographical Album of Calhoun County, Michigan. I knew that this existed because I had a copy of it that was left in some documents that we had when we purchased the house. I wasn't sure where it came from, so the librarian helped me track it down, and we're very lucky that there's also a portrait of him in the book, because looking through all of this information, there were very few actual pictures of any of the men that were talked about unless they were very prominent in town. So it's pretty crazy. Out of everyone, the previous owner of our home had a photo in a book that is possibly as old as our house. So Isaac was born October 18th, 1841. He was married to his wife Mary in 1864. He was a carpenter, and he lived in our house until at least 1908. And he died in Battle Creek in 1920 of heart disease. And he's buried in Oak Ridge Cemetery, which is actually just around the corner from our house. Our house has the original built-in icebox still existing in the kitchen. There's also an iron and a hidden ironing board in the kitchen as well. It has a beautiful solid wood staircase, which apparently is very precious. I have seen letters from the daughter of the previous owner that specifically say not to mess with the staircase because it's a one-of-a-kind piece and very old. I'm not entirely sure the history on it, but one of the things that Jessica picked up on when she was here were specifically to do with the staircase, so I find that funny. She doesn't talk about it during this because it happened later this day, but the day that we went out and filmed all of these clips, when she went to go leave later that night and put her shoes on, she went to go lean on the staircase, and she said, "I just heard in my head not to touch the staircase." So that was interesting. I feel like, based on her information that she said, it's a woman and a man, and they're connected, and they're early residents of the home. I'm fairly sure that it is the two of them that is here. So I would completely believe that the people she picked up on were Isaac and Mary Whitmore. The first location outside of our house that I took Jessica to was the National House Inn. It was actually the first brick structure that was erected in town, and it was built by Andrew Mann in 1835, and it ran under the name Mann's Hotel. The grand opening was a lavish ball on January 1st, 1836. From there, it changed hands many times and was also a possible stop on the Underground Railroad, but has never been proven. There have been places that have been found on the property that could have been used as Underground Railroad hiding spots, but there's also a possibility that those were used during Prohibition to hide alcohol, and it's very possible that they could have been used for both, but there's no way to prove which for sure. In 1837, it started to become known as the National House, and in 1840, Colonel Alva Mann bought the hotel. The land nearby was actually used as a circus ground and supposedly was one of P.T. Barnum's favorite stops, so I thought that was fun. It was owned by many people under that name. In 1851, Thomas Acker bought it and turned it into the Acker House. 1855, it was turned into the Facey House, and there was a dance hall added upstairs along with 40 by 60 feet, 2 stories high. So the building got substantially bigger. It was turned into the Johnson House in 1860, became the Facey House again in 1863. In 1869 was turned into the Globe Hotel, became the Facey House again for a third time in 1873, became the Park House Hotel in 1879, the Page Brothers Buggy Works in 1888, the Wagon and Windmill Factory in 1892. In 1904, it was turned into Dean's Flats by Dr. Andrew Dean, so another Andrew connection there, which were luxury apartments. From there, it became dilapidated. It was turned into the Holmes Apartments in the mid-1930s. A section of the house had to be removed in 1936 because it was in poor condition. The original wooden frame section had to be removed. In 1976, it was purchased, turned back into the National House Inn, and restored to its original splendor. And you said you felt some things when we were walking by here. You were drawn to this building.
Yeah,
Why?
I felt, even though there's like shades right there and like there's shades right there, I felt just people staring at me, like out of the windows, like a lot of energy. But I also feel like I don't know what this building was used for before, what the history is behind it, but in my head I kept seeing like people in uniform, like old, like long ago, like the old style uniforms, but they also had like their wives with them too, so I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if maybe they were hanging out here or what's going on, what I'm seeing, but yeah, it's definitely old. I mean, you can look at it and tell that it's old, but then I also feel like it was more than just like a family home, though, at one point. I don't know if they housed soldiers or what I'm picking up on, but that's what I'm feeling for it. And then I'm also feeling like there's like a man of the house, okay? So he's like the one that like built it, or he's the one that contributed to this being here, and he is got like white hair and like a white beard.
Okay.
And I feel he might have been military too, or he was very into like helping them in a way. I'm not sure what I'm picking up with him, but I know he's connected, and he's like the main one that I see connected when it was like built. That's what I'm being shown.
Okay.
I'm also seeing like nurses too. I don't know. I don't. When I see the soldiers and then I see the nurses, they looked like military nurses though, like taking care of people that were in the military. Okay. But they have like old guns. Like they're walking in with their gun like slung. Yeah. Or like big like musket. I don't know. A lot of energy. A lot of in and out energy.
Yeah. I don't know any specifics, so we'll have to look to see if there's a specific person connected to it. And
I hear Andrew. The name Andrew.
Name Andrew.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll look see what he's connected with.
So based on the history, that would explain the in and out energy that Jessica was picking up on. Also seeing people in military uniform, and she did specifically pick up on the name Andrew. The second location that I took Jessica to is just next door to the National House Inn. It is the Crary Condominiums. This building is not the original building that was on this property. Initially, it was the 3rd Ward or Park School from 1873 to 1923. That building was destroyed by fire on October 8th, 1923. From there, in 1925, the Crary School was built in the place of the 3rd Ward School. And this is the building that still stands. The school was in operation as it was in 1972 and was then used as a school for, quote, handicapped students, unquote, until 1976. And then in 1977, it was sold and converted to apartments.
Well, I know just going from there to here, I felt like a total change. Like, it got heavy. The moment my foot hit this concrete and it was connected to right here, it got really heavy. I would say that people probably see things and hear things in this building for sure, like spirit-wise. Like they're seeing shadows, stuff like that. But as far as what this building was, I have no idea. I'm not being shown because I think it's all the negative energy that I'm trying to block out. Can I walk a little bit closer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Heavy right here. Like as we get closer, it just gets like heavier. A lot of sickness, a lot of death is what I'm feeling as soon as I touch it. It's not a good feeling. But that's what I'm picking up here.
So
I am distracted by a lot of the stuff
the
going on
commotion,
here, but yeah.
But so I'm not surprised that like you're picking things up, but also you're not picking things up.
Yeah.
Because like this property has stuff that might be older, but like this building itself has only been here for 100 years.
I get really warm too, and sometimes I'll get that like if there was a fire, or a lot of people sick. So I don't know. From there to there, that felt like fun. Like I would have loved to hang out with all the people that were over there, but over here, no.
At one point, Jessica says she is really warm, like if there was a fire or sickness, is typically how she feels when she is being told one of those two things. It's also important to note that later on that day, when we were discussing things in more detail, Jessica also was talking about some of the things that she was feeling and went into the heaviness of the property a little bit more. And she thinks some of it could go back all the way to the early settlement of Marshall, which actually wouldn't be that crazy. It is right next door to the Brooks Fountain, which is basically a town square at this point. And right next to the Crary condos is the historical marker for the actual town of Marshall. So the main historical marker for town. It's near where some of the oldest buildings in Marshall were built. So it would make sense if she was picking up on more than just the history of the condos themselves. We know that there were Potawatomi Indians in Calhoun County, and they were in the town of Marshall. There's documentation that during the Black Hawk War, citizens of Marshall were concerned about possible unrest with the Native Americans and called a council. And apparently, Sidney Ketchum, one of the early settlers and founders of Marshall, was called the Great White Chief due to his commanding presence and confidence by the Native Americans. There also was a cholera outbreak in July of 1832, and out of the 70 inhabitants of Marshall at the time, 8 died, and many more had an illness. So the energy of that could still be there as well.
Okay, so we're still at the Crary building.
And as we walked down like the sidewalk right here, and you were explaining where we were gonna go next, I was hearing in my head like funeral home.
What she actually didn't know at the time is I was planning on taking her to the Marshall House. And we didn't end up going. After talking it over, we decided we'd much rather go to the Cronin House. We didn't end up having time to go to the Marshall House. But what I think she was picking up on was the fact that that used to be a funeral home. At this point, we headed further downtown, and we stopped at the Museum of Magic. The Museum of Magic was owned by Robert Lund. He was never good enough in his eyes at the craft of magic. Decided instead of becoming a performer, he would just collect. He also became a bit of a journalist. They were not from this area. They specifically looked for a building that would be able to house his collection. The grand opening of the Museum of Magic was on April Fool's Day, 1978. An upside-down straitjacket escape was done from the top of an 85-foot ladder of a Marshall fire truck. The magicians featured in the main collection of the museum are prominently Harry Blackstone Sr., Okido, who is also known as Theo Bomberg, Gus Rapp, and Dunninger. The oldest piece in the museum is a 16th century autograph of the author of The Discoveries of Witchcraft, which is the earliest record, I think, of sleight of hand. And one of Houdini's milk can escape props is also housed in the museum. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Oh, there's a lot of energy coming from this place right here. Like, I'm feeling it. Specifically, I'm feeling a man. He has like a handlebar mustache. Like his mustache goes like this and it like comes up. And I was asking, like, in my head if he was actually, like, someone that's, like, here currently, like, in there, that works there or owns it or something, or if it's someone who has passed. And it's like, I'm seeing a mirror image. So someone was pulled to this building because whoever spirit I'm feeling for that person wanted them to. When I see a mirror of someone in spirit, it's divinely ordered for that person to own a place. Sometimes when they say like a house picked me, I didn't pick the house. It's like that with this building. I'm also seeing, I don't know if they do like classes or something or like performances. I'm kind of seeing that in my head. A lot of stuff is in there. Like there's a lot of energy. Like I feel like I want to go in there, though it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm not feeling anything bad. I'm curious to know who I'm picking up on. It's a dark-haired man, taller, probably I would say like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", because I'm short, so everyone above me is taller. And then he has that big mustache, and he has suspenders on that come up to like right here, and then it's like he kind of looks like a circus performer, to be honest with you. So
I mean, there's that kind of stuff in there too, so
yeah,
maybe.
The shirt has like stripes on it, but no, they go this way. They go this way, and then suspenders, old trousers. I would say I'm seeing it in black and white, so that's usually a sign from spirit that it was before the 1950s.
Okay.
All right.
Anything from 1950 and like 1800, 1700, all that is black and white.
While we were here, Jessica picked up on a man with a handlebar mustache and a very particular look. None of them, however, were known to have a handlebar mustache other than Harry Blackstone Sr. The museum is filled with many of his props and acts, more so than any other magician. He also lived in Colon, which is only 45 minutes from Marshall. I took Jessica to the Marshall Framing Studio, specifically because there is a connection between the framing studio and my house. Previous owners of my home, Clarence and Irene Strong, used to run Strong's Antiques out of the framing studio building. While we were there, it seems she picked up more on the Bogar Theater next door than the framing studio itself. So I included the history of both of those buildings. At one point, this block of Marshall was called the Palmer Block, and there were a number of fires between 1861 and 1871 on this block that damaged several of the stores. And the Bogar Theater was previously two separate storefronts. The first storefront that comprises the Bogar was an array of grocery and other stores in its history until 1913, when it was Wetmore Shoe Repair for 5 years. This building also survived the fire that was on the Palmer Block in 1866, and it's the oldest building on the main street in its original location between the East and West End parks. And then in 1939, it was remodeled for the Bogar Theater. Building number 2 was the Giles Crampton Shoe Store. It occupied the building in 1860 and was damaged in a fire in 1861. After that, it became Hetch Clothing and was there until the fire of 1871. And then since then, it had also been an array of grocery stores until it was remodeled for the Bogar Theater at the same time as the first building. The framing studio itself was different financial institutions until the early 1900s. It then became a couple of grocery stores, a restaurant, a drug patent company, a sandwich shop, and a couple of antique stores, including the Strong's Antiques.
Okay, here I am feeling very heavy, even more so than any of the other places that we went to. Like, it feels very suppressive here. I'm having a lot of like pain in my head.
Can you tell which one it's coming from? Which building? We currently have the Bogar Theater to our right, and
It's like soon as I get right here. Like if I even step right in that doorway, it's right here. Can I go that way a little bit?
yeah, and we've got Marshall Framing Studio here on the left-hand side.
Oh yeah, it's definitely in here. As I get to the door, it gets really bad. Yeah, I'm like feeling like in the back, whatever's in the back there, there's a lot of like energy back there. I see like a short woman. She's got like curly white hair is what I'm seeing. She's short. She has like a shawl on. So I'm seeing her in my head. Like, but she was like probably a little bit shorter than I even am. And I'm 5'2", so she was short. Skinny, little, and I see a lot of like jewelry on her. Like wore a lot of bracelets. All I see is shoes in my head. I'm being shown right now that it's in like connection with over here. Like I don't know if this was all one connected at one time or something, but I'm seeing it back and then over. Like the energy wise, like the woman's connected here, but then like the heaviness that I was feeling is like the back of the building, but also the back of the building over here next door where the theater is at.
Okay.
In the back of the theater. That's what I'm feeling here. The little old woman. She had to have been in her like 80s, 90s before she passed. She was old.
Okay.
She even wore makeup. A lot of old people just say, screw it, no makeup, but I see makeup on her. But as far as what it was, I'm not picking up really. All I see is shoes, and I don't know what that means.
So,
if I was able to get just 1 foot in here, I would feel a lot more. But doorways are just like doorways in my head when I'm connecting. So if I, just like how I took 1 step that way and it kind of went away, and then when I came this way, I'm curious to know if it was like a shoe place. Like a shoe, I see like the old school like shoe shining.
I mean, it's
and
very
like
possible.
Shoe repair. I didn't feel the antique store. This, I'm wondering if it was a shoe thing.
So, after talking to Jessica some more after we stopped here, we wondered if the woman she picked up on could have been Irene, but we're not entirely sure. Also, I was floored later on to find out that both locations that house the Bogar Theater now previously used to be shoe stores. While many different locations in Marshall had been, tons of different businesses, there's only one other place that I read of that was also a shoe store in town. There are a ton of buildings downtown. There's only 3 locations that I know of that had anything to do with shoes, and 2 of those places were right next door to where we were standing at this time. So the Cronin House. There are many impressive estates located in Marshall. I mean, I could name at least 5 more off the top of my head that are just as grand as this location. But this house is probably one of the most renowned. It's basically 5 stories. It's 60 feet tall at the highest point. There's a children's book called The House of the Clock in Its Walls, based on this home, written by the author John Bellairs, who loved this home as a child. There's no portion of the story that's directly connected to the house. This is just the house that he had in mind when he wrote this story. And then, of course, that was turned into the movie with Jack Black. The house itself was built in 1872 by Jeremiah Cronin Jr. He married his wife Susan in 1855. They had 9 children. 3 died in infancy, and he died in 1889. His son, Jeremiah Cronin, also better known as J.H. Cronin, inherited the house and the dry goods store downtown. He was born in 1873, a year after the house was built, so he spent most of his life in this home. His son, Jeremiah, as well, died in 1903 at the age of 2, and then J.H. himself died at the age of 86 after being severely ill for the previous 10 months. The house stayed in the Cronin family for over 130 years, and the home almost became a hospital before Jeremiah's granddaughters, Virginia and Elizabeth, purchased it from the estate. So Jeremiah Jr.'s granddaughters, J.H. Cronin's daughters. And at one time, the land to the north was actually the Cronin orchard before the land was subdivided into more homes. After the deaths of the sisters Virginia and Elizabeth, it was then purchased by a somewhat unsavory character who gutted the entire home for money, and the house went unoccupied and unheated for 6 years before the current owners purchased it in 2016. You'll get to see our conversation with the owners after our walkthrough of the house.
This place is like zinging, like with energy. There's a lot of energy. I feel like a lot of children energy here, like generational, like even like between generations. I feel a lot of like spirits of children here. I'm also feeling like kind of like that same feeling I was feeling at the first place, people in and out. But I'm also feeling like I'm seeing this house the way it was when it was first built, and like nothing was here, like none of these other houses. Like I'm actually seeing like it empty, like the paint, I don't see the paint. Like whatever the brick color is, right here is how I see the house. Like I don't know when it was painted or how long, but I'm seeing it all brick with no paint on it. When I went and put my hand like on the building, that's when I was like seeing the children like running up and down the stairs and like sliding down the stairs. And I don't know if whoever lives here like hears like little footsteps going up and down, but that's just like ghost children. I heard in my head like this house holds a lot of secrets, and like I saw like secret like compartments or there's like secrets within the walls or something. Like I don't even know if the owner knows, but there's like stuff hidden in the walls. I keep seeing like a really, really old journal notebook. This paper that's in it is like the oldest paper I've ever seen. It's like that old like yellow tinted colored paper, but it's in the walls. And like I see photos in that, and then it's like hidden into the wall. There's a strong like female presence that's in this place that is like sad. I feel a lot of sadness surrounding her, but it's more so what she had to like endure in life, like what she had to go through when she was alive. I don't necessarily think that she hasn't moved on. I think she just comes here a lot, if that makes sense, because I don't feel like the suppression feeling. It's more just kind of the way that she showed me how her life, all the things she saw through her eyes. Again, connection with military here too. I don't know, this town, Marshall, had to be like a hub for something way long time ago, when there was a big war going on here in Michigan. But I just felt something touch the back of my head. But yeah, I'm seeing like military people here as well, like decorated, like men that have like a bunch of things on, and like late 1800s style, kind of like a green, like it's this weird green that you don't see people in military wear. I don't know the color of the shade. It's like forest green kind of, but a little bit darker. That's how I'm seeing him, and he's connected to the house also. Whoever owns it, they like whoever's here. But I'm like getting like another side, like, so that was like that generation, and then I'm going to another generation. Okay, so it's flipping to another time period, and then I'm feeling like really sick. I don't feel well. I'm actually hearing like a lot of coughing in my head. It's like that croup cough sound, and I'm seeing a bunch of beds of sick people, and I feel sad. Like like if they were sick with the sickness now, it would be like you go to the doctor, you get an antibiotic. But back then, you would die from like influenza or like the flu, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whatever the sickness was. But then I see like a lot of people in bed sick, and then that is the children that I'm seeing that play up and down the stairs. They passed away from being sick. There is something that I'm picking up on here, but it has to do with whoever owned it previously. It's kind of cool the way that I'm being shown by spirit right now. It's like generational, but then I'm getting back to like from like the 1950s till now, and I'm seeing like the change of people back and forth between the exchange of the house going to different people. And there was someone at one point that lived here that was like practicing like witchy stuff. I'm seeing it like done in the basement, and I'm seeing a lot of like books and him like writing. Seeing a lot of writing being done, and like that's the journal that might be on the wall was his. And then a man like with a big long beard, I keep seeing him with a top hat.
Okay.
But I'm seeing, I don't know if they had servants or whatnot, but I'm seeing like
They probably would have.
like
yeah.
a butler. He has like a white thing right here, and he's holding that too. That's a different person than the guy with the long beard. He's clean shaven, but I'm seeing that too. Yeah, this is the one I'm seeing in my head. I'm telling you, there is something like in here, like under the bricks. Obviously this has been replaced, so if they would have lifted that, but it would be underneath, because who's gonna go looking underneath a fireplace where fire burns all the time? That's like a good hiding spot to me. I've never heard of anyone doing that before today, but it's like family connected to why they hid it. So it's like family stuff. Whoever was connected to this house, like that lived here long ago, was really connected to like art and architecture and like really old things. So I think that's why he likes the owners, because they're really big into that as well, is what I'm picking up on. Like antiques and like keeping it like traditional and not wanting to change too much, only making it better but not upgrading. Like trying to keep as much original as possible. But like obviously some things have to be fixed is what I feel, you know. But the family is like happy that they have it. That guy? See, he was younger. I saw him younger. Yeah, I am. I'm recognizing the eyes, but the way I saw him was younger. But because, I mean, spirit doesn't want to look how they looked when they were older. They want to show me younger.
No, that is somebody connected to the house because those are the front doors.
That woman, I feel like I was seeing her in my head. That's who I was seeing. She took care of people. That's why she said that she saw so much, because she took care of people. You know what I mean? And when you take care of people, you also take care of people that are passing away. And she experienced a lot of loss, I feel, with her. She experienced a lot of loss.
And from what I hear, it sounds like the second and third floors are the most.
Yeah, and here, like, there's like a threshold right here that I don't want to pass, but I'm going to. I'm seeing like a little small door, and I don't know if it's like to the attic or if it's
In here or in a place somewhere in the house?
somewhere in the house. It's like a small door, and like, I don't know, I see like the kids going in and out of it.
I just got
Like playing
goosebumps
with
because on the third floor, there's a small room with like a short door.
I see the children going in and out, in and out. Do you want to keep going up, or do you? Oh, it's heavy in here. But a lot of like writing. Whoever lived here like sent out a lot of mail. Like, but I'm seeing it by like horse and buggy. Like that long ago. Seeing a lot of like, someone liked to read. But it's heavy in here. And like I see, it's that tall man that I said I saw when I was downstairs. He's tall. He's kind of grouchy. He doesn't like women. So I'll get out of his room. And then, how many more rooms are up here over here? Wow.
I think this one is their actual room that they sleep in, so.
Doesn't feel bad in here. I don't feel anything in there. They have that for themselves. They don't have any ghosts really coming in there. Whoa, we got heavy in here. I'm seeing a death that was not a natural death. And I'm feeling like older woman like passing away in here. I'm seeing her like in a bed.
surrounded by people, and they're like in older clothes, old clothes. So I'm being shown a lot from like when it was first built and like the first like 100 years of it. I'm so distracted by spirit in here. It is like that same like guy that was over there like followed us in here. He's kind of like, get out of here, what are you doing? Yeah, it's nice in there, but I don't feel anything really.
But I did take photos of a friend of mine for her maternity photos because we were doing like a Halloween themed session, and we did some of them on the stairs down there. And neither one of us really wanted to come up here to use the bathroom because there's no bathroom downstairs.
Oh.
The only bathroom is up here, and then there's one on the 3rd floor.
You were like feeling him not wanting a woman up here. He doesn't like women in his space. That's why he likes them. He doesn't like me. He doesn't even want to he doesn't even want to channel me. Like, picture in this place.
It's dark in here.
Oh God. Come on. You gotta be funny. Put the light on.
Okay. Oh, that's so dim.
That's a little door.
Yeah.
It was like a little baby door. Being stared at right here.
Okay. I don't like that. Weird.
I'm feeling. Does this go up to the tower?
I think that goes up to the tower.
This?
Yeah. That is like a rec room, kind of.
Yeah, can we go in there?
Yes, but I don't, there's no lights in there, so.
Oh, did you hear that?
No.
Here, let me see your phone. Hello?
I got goosebumps when I walked in here.
I come in peace.
It's fine because before we walked upstairs, I thought I heard footsteps up here too.
Yeah. I come in peace. I can communicate with you. I mean you no harm. I'm only here to tour the house and then I'm gonna go. Weird in here. Okay, let's go to the tower.
Oh.
I thought it was outside.
These stairs, so this is one.
Singing. I hear a woman in my head singing. Like, like humming. I see her like going up and like sitting up there. She's got like a one of those candle,
It's just like a small room with a patio off of it.
like she's holding like one of those old style candle holder that just has the one candle in it, and she's like humming and going up, and then she's in like a long white gown, and she must go up there to, she must have went up there, I should say, 'cause she's dead, but to like regress and like feel better, because there's a lot of, when I'm feeling from her, like there was a lot of people that lived in the house at the same time as her, and she would go up there to get away from them. But then she shows me like the shape of the house changing, so I don't know if there was like add-ons or something.
But we've got this little room over
Oh
here.
my gosh, this is the one the kids are in.
Yep. Yeah, we laughed at this one when we came in here because it's blue and red too. So
Look at it, it's a little kid's room. Hello. That door just opened. Hello. That's the little door that I saw.
I don't even know what's in there.
There's another little door. Hi, children. Hello. I think it's because I said hi to them, so they're like coming out. Yeah, there's kids in here. They don't want to leave here. Their energy is like in love with this place. There's specifically a little boy that I'm feeling right now, and he's showing me however he passed, it was due to something in his head, like trauma to his head. I'm connecting with that woman again that I saw before downstairs in the picture, and like I feel like she had to bury a lot of her kids. I don't know why I feel that way, but I'm just being shown that. And her and them kind of linger up here. I don't know if they have like things that move periodically where they think they set something down, or this little boy is like moving stuff.
Like a mischievous energy.
Yeah. But he's nice. It's not like I don't feel anything bad.
No, just like being playful.
Okay. Well, we can get out of this room now.
But this room gives me goosebumps too.
Yeah.
Like I get the chills when I'm in here, like I was in that room over there.
Yep. Yeah, I felt like I was being touched in my arm. Like, I'll tell you what'll happen where it will just feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was feeling. It is intense. There's a lot of people that died of sickness that lived in this house. Like, kind of like that other place that I felt where a lot of people had, like...
Oh, we didn't go over there.
We didn't go over there. It's really sad in here. This is like where a lot of the sadness is coming from, is this side of the house.
These would have been servants' quarters or children's bedrooms.
I'm feeling that energy that I felt when we were outside, that butler guy, the young like teen. And I feel like he was like orphaned, like his parents died. And then he came here to work here. He has very big eyes. They're blue. He's got dark hair, skinny. I would say he's probably 16 the way I'm seeing him. But I feel his energy in here from when we were outside. This is the only place I've been feeling him again from when we were on the front porch. He would be sad if his
Parents died.
if he didn't have anybody, and then he sees a big family together, but he's not like a part of their family. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of it's heavy, it's sadness in here. So I want the boy that was in here to know that he can cross over, because he hasn't yet.
When we stripped the brick, the house was like an ochre color with
Yellow.
red trim and green, and like it was very
Green
Italian
windows.
Renaissance colors. It was not white, and after the turn of the century, when the first son took over the house, he and his wife remodeled it, and they blast painted the whole outside white because that was more modern.
Yeah, whoever was here previously, the man upstairs does not like what they did.
We don't like him either.
The maze
Oh,
room.
really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got really sad, and then there was a boy that came to me when I was out front, and he was a butler, which was kind of cool to me because I was like, he was probably like 15, 16 in my eyes,
Okay.
just seeing him in my head.
So where were you when you felt sad?
The red floor area.
Okay.
Over this way,
Those are the maze rooms.
the bedroom
Yeah.
over there.
They
Yeah.
were historically servants' bedrooms.
Okay. Yeah, he had like a white
Towel.
cloth or towel or something, and he was that's how I knew he was a butler.
Wow.
Servant,
He was standing
yeah.
very like straight up and down.
Oh.
But it was cool. He kind of showed me that when he left, his parents had passed away, and he came to work here.
Oh,
He was
wow.
like an orphan.
Oh, wow.
And then when he grew up, I did see him like transition into being in a uniform. So he went on to be like in the military. Explained to me what I was feeling with the woman that had lost a lot of children, and I saw a lot of sickness when I
That's
was
the
out front.
nurse.
Well,
She
She had to take care of a lot of people, and it was like all they were doing.
There's a
was
baby
passing
that
away.
died. The
Okay.
firstborn son died when he was 3, and we don't know what happened, whether Spanish flu or fell down the stairs or something. And the other mediums have said the same thing, that there's a nurse,
yeah.
and she's up there, and she's very concerned, and she's saying, I
Taking
won't
care
leave
of
the
the
baby.
baby.
Like, I won't leave him.
Is that the room you're remodeling in there? Kind of. It kind of looked like
That's the nursery at the top of the stairs, the paint peeling.
There's like a threshold there that I said in the video.
Yeah.
If you do watch it, I didn't want to step in there because I felt like I was invading someone's
That's the
privacy.
nursery. That's the nursery. That's where the babies were.
And that's
Yeah.
the nurse. The nurse like kind of like
Oh my god.
protects the nursery,
Right.
and then she's also up in the stairway. The tower above that is that tight staircase up to the roof.
We tried, but there was a huge spider web. I went.
So the nurse is there too, like apparently.
That's why she was singing. I know
Yeah.
why she was singing now. Why she was humming.
Yeah.
She was humming because of the babies, like rocking them in
Well,
arms.
and we'd wondered because you can see it was their firstborn, Jeremiah and
Yeah.
Susan's son, and he was the namesake. He was
He's
Jeremiah
buried
the
in that
third.
cemetery.
And we've seen his. We went over and looked at all their graves, and he was like 2.
You're the
Uh,
third medium that has said the exact same thing. He's there.
Yeah.
And we think it was either very, very just obviously very sad to lose their firstborn
Right.
namesake son.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also because she's in the stairs and not always the nursery, it's like, did he fall down the stairs? Was it
Yeah, we don't
that
know.
violent?
No, I felt sickness.
And she got stuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That was
it
when
was
Spanish
probably
flu was
Spanish
killing.
flu.
You know, after the baby died, I'm feeling it even right now. Like she would go up there and
Get some peace.
Oh,
I think I
that's
said to
cool.
calm down.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be no place anybody
Yeah.
else would. You guys see why?
Yeah,
the
that's-
sisters
Agreed,
actually,
you know.
Betty and Elizabeth didn't ever,
They never went up there,
ever
ever.
even go on the 3rd floor.
The third
Ever,
floor
ever,
was sealed
ever,
off.
ever.
They never went
They didn't
there.
go up there.
That's why. I don't know.
Yeah. Singing, and I heard voices, and then I seen something come out of the room that was like just energy. It was like an
Yeah.
orb. The dark like hall
Oh,
area. And I heard someone say, "Don't come in here." And I was like, I
Was
went
that
in there
Was
anyway.
that the trunk room? The kids' room?
No, the one
it was the-
across from it.
The one
Was
that,
that
Oh,
second
the attic
floor?
on the third
that
floor.
one, yeah, with like
The-
the wood.
Yeah.
The one that was
wood.
dark, yeah,
Yeah.
because we had to use a flashlight to see in there.
But I heard don't come in here, and then I said out loud. I heard
Really?
it in my head, but I said it out loud. I said, I come with the utmost respect, peace, love.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just here to say hi. I'll be leaving in just a second, kind of thing, because they like being acknowledged.
Yeah.
I mean, to them, it's
Wow.
like, could you imagine no one being able to see you? But
Yeah.
you know, it
So-
kinda,
That's the only part of the
I-
house that I kind of am a little creeped out by. Is the third floor. I don't know why.
Yeah.
there's an
That-
old grumpy man in there.
Yeah.
He had
Oh, I
glasses
roll.
on that didn't have things on them, like the ones that they used to just go like this and sit on
Pince
their
nez.
face. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
probably
wow.
Jeremiah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We both have seen
Him.
and Jeff was not a believer. I was like, this place is definitely haunted.
Did
but
you feel
but both
anything malevolent or from like I?
No, I
Just
felt
grumpy.
residual. I felt residual energy.
Yeah.
Like the boy, that's residual energy. That's
Yeah.
not actual energy he feels because he's at peace.
Yeah.
It's the energy that he kept feeling every single day, and it makes an imprint within the spiritual world.
Okay.
And so that's just the way it feels. You can clear that out. All you have to do is sage it or
No.
bless it or something. But
Nobody who's ever come here who's seen, felt, whatever, has ever felt anything was
Anything
a bad
negative.
spirit. They're always
No.
like, it's a good feeling. It's like they're here, but they're not out to get anyone.
Nope.
They're
They're
at
at
peace.
peace.
They're not like, except for the nurse. I mean, the nurse has unfinished business, but
yeah.
it's not, bad. She's just there. And Jeremiah is supposedly in here a lot. He's in this library, I guess. Did you feel him in there?
That's the man that I was talking about, and then I saw the library in my head. When we were standing
That
out
was
front,
his-
I saw that, and I was like, I'm seeing like a library, but that's when I was seeing that there's something hidden in there. Like in the walls. I said, he told me the walls have secrets.
Yeah.
the house with the clock in its walls,
There
of
you
course,
He
of
was
course
saying
it
the
is.
house has secrets.
Oh my God.
We figured that Zaharian would have found whatever because he snaked cable wire through absolutely
Oh, my
every
Lord.
spirit of this
I
house.
saw a note, like a
Well, but if
journal
one is
book.
under the fireplace in the
Yeah.
brick, because
Yeah.
she actually said it's not this one, it's the one in the dining room.
Oh, that
really?
one's huge, and that was a big build over.
Yeah, that's a big, yeah.
That was a renovation in the
1900s.
20th century.
That one's not original either, is it?
This
That
one's
one
original.
is.
That
Yeah.
one's original.
That's the
That
only-
one's not. Okay.
That's the only original
That's the
fireplace
only
in the
original.
house. These
They
are
would have all
turned
been
this
like
century.
that. That
was
one
that
was
in
renovated.
there though?
No,
Was that?
it's always been
That's
there.
always been there? Okay.
Yeah.
Was the one that used to be in there, did it have wood going across the top? Because I saw one that was marble with wood.
You guys
But we
been
both
doing a
have
lot
seen a figure
stuff
out of
on-
peripheral
outside at
vision,
your place.
like
Yeah.
upstairs in that little landing of the stairway where all the doors are, with the second to third floor staircase going up. And it's so funny because it happened to me yesterday, and it's just the first time it happened to either of us. It's like we just automatically in our head are like, well, that's Jeff, because it's a person you see very
You know.
clearly,
Right.
and like there's no question there, and that's the only other person whom human it could be. And then you look over and it's gone.
And then you're
But
like,
it's a
wait.
darkly suited figure.
It's like a shadow
older.
that
Yeah.
you know how you're like aware of somebody that's present, that's moving, but you're not really seeing them.
He's usually going
And
up
that's
the
what it
stairs.
is, like on the
Tall.
stairway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
stairway. It's like from
Yeah.
the third floor to the second floor. I've felt him there
Yeah.
several times.
Distance, and sometimes it's revealing.
Sorry,
Oh.
I'm figuring
feeling?
things out. Yeah, sorry.
What just happened?
Well, I was trying to figure out why, when we were up there, we didn't mention this, but when I saw the woman going up the stairs to the tower, or like the tower stairs up,
Mhm.
she had a candlestick thing with her, like the, I
Yeah.
forget what they're called, but it had a candle and then they hold it like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was walking up there, and she just showed me her like putting it in the window, and it was like she shows me it being something, and I don't understand this. I'm gonna have to Google this, but she shows me like when you lose a child, you like put that in the window so that they can see your soul at night, so you can
Oh.
sleep.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I'm
Oh.
guessing it's something they did way back when. I
I don't
don't.
know.
I found some information that says a lit candle was often placed in the window when a family member was away or who had died to remember them, letting them know they are missed. It was also seen as a silent prayer for their safe return and a sign that someone remained at home tending the fire and waiting.
Yeah.
But she would put the candle.
So, did the child die here in the
Yeah.
house?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, you know
Okay.
what? If it was,
Okay.
what?
I think all the Cronins died here, basically.
Yeah.
Even though the last one died in the living room,
Elizabeth.
Virginia.
Holy.
Virginia.
I saw beds and people sick and dying in them, but I
Oh,
saw
really?
more than one bed though.
Yeah.
There was more than one bed.
Died at
So
home.
this was the dining room.
Yeah.
So the servants, like the back staircase, you know, and the basement
Kitchen.
was in the kitchen originally. That was a part of the 1900 renovation.
That kitchen was added on in 1900.
She said that when we were outside,
Really?
and I remembered that there was something, but I couldn't remember
Yeah.
what part of the house was added on.
The woman
basement.
showed
Yeah.
me that.
Yeah.
The woman showed me that. It was a different woman than the nurse. It was a older woman. I think she was the one in the picture with the short curly hair on the mantle of the fireplace. And
Oh, that's
Oh, that-
she's
who
an
is
aunt.
she? We don't know
She's
who
a
she
cousin
is.
or an aunt.
Who is she? Do you know?
I don't know. She reminded me of the spirit that I was seeing in my
Okay.
head, but she's the one that showed me that it was different. Like,
Oh,
like
wow.
there was an add-on.
We don't know what her relationship is. We know. I mean, obviously they're in the front of the house.
Yeah, his
I'm feeling
brother.
like sibling relation.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling a
Well,
sibling
yeah, the
relation.
brother lived down the street,
Okay.
and he has a smaller house, so there's like.
No.
Okay, so you were asking about what else I felt in that
Yeah.
kids' room. When I saw that door when we were out front before we even came in, I saw like kids going in and out like little doors, like
Yeah.
like highways.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really cool to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that door is goofy.
There was a little boy in there that passed away young.
Yeah.
Did not.
She said head trauma with
I
him.
felt head trauma for him though.
Maybe he fell on the stairs. I don't know.
That
We
might be
don't
why
know.
you picked that up.
Yeah.
We all have abilities. We just don't
Right.
realize it.
Yeah.
So.
But you know that stairway takes you up to the doorway onto the deck up there. But there's also a trap door into the very top of the tower.
Yeah.
And we went up there
Yeah.
one time before I renovated the house. It was full of like bats. It was like,
Yeah.
So we
had
got
to-
rid of all
we had
that,
to sweep
redid
up the
all
back.
that stuff. But when we were up there, on all the rafters, there's pencil handwriting from children. Like
Yeah.
That's
so and
so
so
cool.
plus so and so,
Well,
1880.
it's
like,
in the belfry.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
not.
Oh my
there's-
God.
That staircase
They were up
takes you
there
to a little
playing.
room that is, you
Yeah.
know, like
way up there.
7 by 12.
Wow.
Really
and then
cool.
there's a ship's ladder that goes to a trapdoor that's like 12 feet up. It's like way up. We can stand. It's actually 6
It's tall.
feet.
Yeah.
It's probably 6.5 feet. But there are pencil drawings and handprints up
Hearts
cool.
and like names
Wow.
of
there.
kids.
Like, who lets their
like-
kids get all the way up there? That would have been me
Well,
though.
they
Yeah.
were probably like this was their treehouse, right? Like
Yes,
they could get all the way up there.
In
Like
the middle of
no
the winter,
adults could
you
see
know?
them. They
Yeah.
were like those windows opened and like.
I will say I
beyond
stepped
creepy.
into. She told me it was your bedroom. I didn't know that, but I stepped in there and I
Bedroom?
felt
Yeah.
energy saying, "Don't go in there. That's private." So you need to know that the
Hey, look
spirits
out,
here
guys.
were telling me that was your space.
Wow.
And to stay
She
out of
said
it. So they
they don't go in there.
Fine.
They don't go in
They
there.
don't go in there. They leave you guys alone.
Oh.
So you're not being watched when you sleep. Like they're
Sweet.
very respectful and they're very.
Aw, really?
But then
so
in-
they're like,
In Jeremiah's room, like he didn't want us in there. Like because of us being
Wait,
women.
which
he
room?
didn't. In the blue room that you said.
Oh, Lost at Sea.
Yeah, that's his room.
Yeah, that's his room.
We don't sleep in that room. We never really have, but.
But everything that has been like sleeps like
Yeah.
a baby. Like
Yeah.
no issues. You
Not
know,
gonna be
so,
messed with.
yeah.
But he followed us from one room to another one.
Oh really?
The 2 rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, from one of the bedrooms to the other one.
He's very benevolent. I mean, from everything everybody's ever said,
just-
he's like just
he's
a good
just
guy,
here.
and he's just
Yeah.
happy that everything's going well. and
Yeah.
The house is saved. The house was in danger of like
Yeah.
seriously
Yeah.
being lost.
So they were happy that it was being.
Yeah.
That's why they love you guys.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
It was going
It was a mess.
downhill.
That's why I felt the anger with how the people were previously that
Yeah. They were
take care
terrible.
of the history.